What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Seth Robinson. This is my workshop, and today I'm going to be doing a shop tour video. So taking a step back here, you can see that my shop is a 12 by 24 barn basically, but the walls, the floor, and the ceiling are all insulated, so it's going to help keep that heat in there in the winter. Let's just go ahead and walk into the shop. So right in here on the right, I have my joiner. This is a rigid 6-inch joiner. I bought this from the same gentleman that sold me the saw stop. Absolutely love this joiner. The dust collection on it is perfect. I love it. It's got a nice little storage area on the side for a push block, and it's very adjustable. I can adjust just about everything on this thing, and I love having the joiner in this spot. I can bring rough material into my shop, and I can mill it down on the joiner, as well as the 12.5-inch thickness planer, which I have right next to the joiner. I also have the planer hooked up to dust collection, and the dust collection on this is just about perfect too. I have my planer on this nice little stand that I built. It's got a little cabinet in the bottom, casters on the bottom, and then a large drawer up top, so I have some storage in there. I've also got a handle on the side, and it's made of 2x4s and 1/2-inch plywood. This dust collector port here came with the tool. I had to buy this 4-inch to 2.5-inch adapter on Amazon. It was like $5, and that hooks up to my 4-inch dust port over here. Moving over from the joiner here, I have the blast gates and kind of the dust collection system for the joiner and the planer here. So this one turns on the air to the planer, this one turns on the air to the joiner, and those all run down to the first run on my dust collector. And speaking of dust collector, this is a Harbor Freight dust collector. I think it was like $200, and I was going to buy the Grizzly, but a friend recommended this one, so I went ahead and bought this one because it was half the price, and I'm very happy with it. I really like that it has 2 ports on the bottom, so I can have 2 different runs, and it's got a pretty large bag, so I don't have to empty it too often. Above all this stuff, I have 2 shelves, and I just use these shelves to store bulb lengths and lumber that I need to mill down. You can see I've got some live edge cherry burl up there and some other random things, and those are just helpful to get things off the floor and kind of up into the what would be dead space of the walls. And above all of that, I have an air filter. So that is a Woodtech air filter. My neighbor gave it to me 6 or 7 years ago, and I was not able to have this in my old shop because it was too big. So I've got my air filter up there, and then I also have the LED lights up there that I got on Amazon. I will link those lights down in the description box below. I absolutely love them, and they were like $25 a piece. So the actual dust collection system is made of Schedule 20 PVC pipe, I believe. It's either Schedule 20 or Schedule 40. That's the thinner one. So it's not the regular PVC, it's a thinner version, and I love it because it's half the price. So I've got my dust collection run here, and this goes to the other end of the shop. But over here next to my dust collector, I've just got some random things. Eventually, I want to put another workbench over here, but for right now, I've just got some burl slabs and things. Over here, I've got some projects waiting to get finished. And then coming out from the middle of the shop is my saw stop industrial cabinet saw. This is, in fact, the center of my shop. It's the biggest tool I've got in here. It's the heaviest tool I've got in here. It's also the most expensive tool I've got in here. I use this thing on every single project. It's absolutely the best table saw I've ever used in my entire life. This thing is such a lifesaver, and it's got that saw stop technology, so I can't really cut my finger on this thing, and that's just, that's priceless. This thing is super reliable, it's super powerful, and it's very solid. It's also got this nice mobile base on the bottom, so I can pump it up and move it around the shop if I have to, so it is flexible. So over to the right of the table saw, you can see I've got my miter sled hanging up on the wall over there. I've also got my dust collection system pipes coming down for the miter saw, and that one drops down for the table saw. The dust collection run that comes down the wall and goes to the table saw just floats about a foot above the ground, and I haven't really found a better way to do that. I'm probably going to go through and add some blocking or something underneath just to help support it, but for now that works fine. And then I've just got a little piece of flex hose on the end. The miter saw dust collection comes from the piece of PVC pipe. I have a reducer here, so this is 4 inches to 2.5 inches, and then I've got a small 2.5-inch piece of flex hose on the end there that attaches to the back of my miter saw. You'll also notice that I've got the blast gates here for my miter saw and for my table saw, so I can cut off all the air to these tools when I need to. This is a new addition to my shop. I didn't have this in the old shop. I love having a whiteboard in here because I can write orders on here, reminders, and if I need something like wood glue, I can write it on here and I don't just have to remember it. So it's really nice having a whiteboard in the shop, and I didn't really know I needed it until I had it. And you'll notice the dust collection system continues down the wall above the clamp racks. I built these clamp racks before I moved in here. I knew I wanted some new clamp racks, and these things have worked out flawlessly. These ones hold the bar clamps, and then I have a more traditional style for the F-style clamps and the C clamps. And at this point, we're at the end of my shop, so I ended the dust collection system run. I've got a little weird drop down there to a long piece of 4-inch flex hose. Now, that's what I use to vacuum up the lathe, so you'll know if you've got a lathe that these things create a ton of chips, so that hose can reach all around and I can vacuum up all the chips from my lathe in about 5 minutes. When I was designing this shop and kind of laying everything out, I put outlets just about every 4 feet. So you'll notice there's an outlet there, there's an outlet near the corner, and there's another outlet over here. So one of the problems with my old shop was that I always had a lack of power, so I made sure to stick a ton of outlets in this shop. The lathe is a 10-inch jet lathe. It's just a mini lathe, and I turn all sorts of bowls and stuff on it. I've got it on this nice cabinet that I built here, and this is the Wolverine sharpening jig I made in another video. I will link that up in the cards if you want to go check that out. That is how I sharpen all of my lathe tools, and it still works awesome. I've got my little Vari-Grind over here on the wall, as well as a couple little tool holders for all my lathe tools. In between my lathe bench and my little corner workbench here, I've got a little trash can, and then we get to the corner workbench. So you can see it's pretty beat up, pretty used, but I work a lot in here. I work all day in here. So I've got all sorts of stuff on my corner workbench, including my Delta drill press. Love this drill press. It's super high quality, and it comes in handy when I need it. Got a little rack on the wall over there to hold my hammers and my mallets. And then over here I've got some things like a pencil holder, screwdriver holder, and some little brackets to hold up my speed squares. Next to that workbench I have my heater, and this time of year I don't get a lot of use out of the heater. I'll probably move it and put it up into storage or something for now to get it out of the way, but for right now that's where my heater is, and you'll notice there's more outlets over here. Above that I've got this little cabinet with a paper towel holder, so I can put a roll of paper towels on there, and that comes in super convenient. And next to all that is my Delta 14-inch bandsaw. This thing has lasted so long, and I expect it to last a lot longer. This thing was built, I think, in the early 60s, and the guy I bought it from had completely gone through and refurbished the entire thing. So he fixed everything and really redid it all, and he did a great job. So he gave me a good deal on it, and I get so much use out of this saw. Right now I've got a 1/2-inch blade on there, mainly because I've been cutting a lot of bull blanks, but I've also got a couple more blade sizes over here, like a 3/4 inch, 1/4 inch, and 3/8 inch. I would definitely recommend getting a 14-inch bandsaw if you don't have one already. I don't find that I need a bigger bandsaw, and it's definitely big enough to do everything I need it to do, mainly because my lathe can't turn bowls that are all that big, so this bandsaw works just fine. If I get a bigger lathe, then I'll probably get a bigger bandsaw, but I'll probably keep this one because it's nice to have. I have a small little Delta dust collector, so this thing has an open end on it, and I'll just hook that up to my sander whenever I need to sand something. So that's what's really nice about this, is that I can have a dedicated dust collector for my sander. This is something that I did not have in my old shop. I couldn't have a dedicated dust collector for my sander, and it's really nice having that because you don't fill the entire room with dust when you sand. Above that, I've just got some cabinets, so I've just got some random things like some bottles, some extra paper towels, my drill, and some epoxy pigments. So this is just a random junk drawer, basically, of everything that I don't really know where to put. And you'll notice that coming around, we are back at the planer on top of a nice little stand, and you can see I've got the dust collection system, again, coming to my planer, as well as a little mount to hold my earmuffs. I did not realize that I needed new earmuffs until I got these things. So these are Impact Sport earmuffs by Howard Light. They're on Amazon. They're like $55. And I did not want to spend $55 on earmuffs, but when I did, I realized how much of a difference they make. I had just used cheap Harbor Freight earmuffs, and I figured that they worked fine, but when I got these, they're so much more comfortable, and these ones actually have a dial on the side, so I can turn up the volume or turn down the volume. And I still need to build a jamb for my door, because when it rains, water does come in, even though the ramp outside angles down. So the jamb's going to work out good. I've got some weather stripping I'm going to build it with, and I may make that a project video. And last but not least, I've got this little Porter cable air compressor over here. I just use that to blow myself off when I'm covered in lathe chips, and that's just nice to have. Up top, I've got a loft, and the loft covers half the distance of the shop, so 12 feet. And up there, I store slabs and long material that I'm probably not going to be using too often. And it just keeps it nice and dry up there, and it's easy to access if I need to get to it because I've got a nice little walkway down the middle. All in all, I've got 8 of those LED lights, and you guys will have to let me know what you think about the brightness of the video. I think they do a great job illuminating the whole shop, and they were relatively cheap. I think I only spent $200 for all 8 of them. So back over here by the joiner, I wanted to give you guys a nice overview of the shop. You can see the planer, the dust collector, the bandsaw, the drill press, all the workbenches and everything, the lathe, the miter saw, and the table saw in the middle. I've also got this little center island workbench that I use to store random templates and hand tools, so like my router and my sander. And then over on the end here, I've got my little 4x36-inch belt/disc sander. And this is another one of those tools where it just comes in so handy, and I use that thing every single day. One thing that I definitely really want to do is build some sort of a permanent ladder to get up to my loft. Right now I'm just using a metal step ladder that I store outside, and I would really like to build something more permanent. So I'm kind of thinking something like a wooden ladder that kind of pops onto the wall into some brackets. When I need it, I can pop it off the wall and set it up to my loft. That would also allow me to use it in other places around the shop. If I needed to work on some lighting or something on the ceiling, I could use it around the shop. So that's definitely where I'm leaning, but if you have any unique ideas, definitely let me know in the description box down below. The dust collection system is working amazingly. That's one thing that I did not have in my old shop that I love having in this shop. I have never had built-in dust collection before, and this is the first time I've had it. And I'm really, really lucky to have it because I don't want to be breathing in that dust too much longer, and I know the effects of that, so having built-in dust collection is a huge lifesaver. Guys, thank you so much for watching this week's video. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, make sure that you go ahead and get subscribed. I've got a really cool project coming up next week. We're going to be building this awesome little box out of curly maple, and it's going to have a glass lid. It's going to be gorgeous. So definitely be sure to subscribe to the channel and also hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever I post a new video. Definitely be sure to check out my website, SethCustomCreations.com. The link is in the description box down below. I'll see you guys next week.